Hey, it's Mo. I am, as always, so glad you're here just to hang out and talk about makeup. It's something I love, and I just really think it's great that you love it too, and you just want to kind of talk about it. This one is a surprise to me. I'm surprised I ordered this. Here's why. So, Natasha Denona Bronze, by the way, is what we're talking about today. This is the brand new palette. It was just announced, at least I just saw it announced about a week and a half ago. It launched this week, I think on Tuesday. And I ordered it from Sephora and I received it on Thursday. So this is not a first impression. I've used this several times and I know what I think about it. Here's why I'm surprised that I got it. First of all, bronzes are not really my color. I don't dislike them, but they're not the thing that makes my heart go like pitter pat. Usually I like purples and pinks and mauves and things like that. Which is another reason I'm surprised that I ordered this, is that Natasha Denona released the Love palette in February for Valentine's Day roughly. And on paper, I should love that palette. I should absolutely love that palette. The colors, the layout, everything about it. And that palette is one of the most disappointing palettes for me this year. I also didn't dislike, but I didn't love the mini retro. And the thing is, so many people loved the mini retro and the Love palette, and I had just kind of come to the conclusion that Natasha Denona and I just don't agree on formula. And that's fine, but it just isn't for me. So I surprised myself when I ordered this. Colors aren't really what I'm looking for. I had kind of sworn off Natasha Denona in my mind. It's a very expensive brand, but in any case, it was like a tractor beam for some reason, and I ordered this. And I want to talk to you about it and tell you my impressions. And this is, I think I said, this is not a first impression. I don't do first impressions. And there's tons of those out there. You know, there's people who get this stuff up really early, and the swatches are out there for you and all that great stuff. And I think that's cool. I know I love to see all that stuff. But I like to spend a bit more time with it, just myself, to make sure I know what I'm thinking. So here's the outer packaging, as I kind of showed you, Natasha Denona Bronze palette. This is one of her mid-sized palettes, I guess you would say. The first one of those came out last year. It was the Sunrise palette. Then the next one was the Love palette, and now the Bronze palette. These are $65, so not an inexpensive palette. And the pans are a bit over 1 gram. So I think the pan size is decent. I've got fingerprints on this already, but here's the packaging. It's a rather metallic, reflective bronze shade, although it's really interesting. It's not like a flat bronze. There's always some kind of dimension to the colors, I think, that Natasha Denona uses for the packaging. So I like the packaging very much on all of these kind of mid-sized palettes. And then I'm guessing you've seen this on Instagram, or perhaps you've seen some reviews already, but here are the colors inside the palette. Now, I believe it's always different, right? What I'm seeing in person and what you're seeing through the camera lens. But I think this might be showing up just a hair lighter to you than it is to me. But it's pretty darn close. So we're going to talk about the palette, and I'm going to let you know what I think in the days that I've used it, and we'll kind of go from there. So let's start with talking about the formulas and do the swatches and all that stuff. So Natasha Denona, I know of 4 formulas. The 4 that I'm aware of are included in this palette. So there are 5 creamy mattes, there are 4 metallics, there are 4 duochromes, and then there's 1 cream to powder. That's this dark one here. This is the cream to powder, and that is, as the name suggests, it's kind of a cream that turns into a powder, but not exactly. It's this hybrid kind of thing. And then there's 1 chroma crystal, which is kind of more of one of those glitter top coat kind of things, but not quite, but that's how I'll describe it. And by the way, when I say there's 5 creamy mattes, that doesn't mean they're cream. She just describes her mattes as creamy mattes. That's what she calls the formula. So we're going to swatch here, and I'm going to try to tell you what each one is. So we start out with True Copper, which is a metallic, and then Suntan is one of the creamy mattes. Sundown is also a creamy matte, and then, as I said, this is the cream to powder. This is Deep Dive. So there are the 4 we're going to start with. they are the first four. Hopefully I've spaced these appropriately so I'll fit on my arm well and you can see them. Then we have the first Duochrome. This is rhodium. Another matte is Magma, which reminds me of Austin Powers every time I say it. High Degree is a metallic. Then we've got Alloy, which is a Duochrome. So there are the next four. Kind of move that around so you can see. Next is another matte, kind of a mustard colored matte. That's Ridge. Then this True Bronze is the Chroma Crystal that I mentioned is more kind of like a top coat. We move on to Gloaming, which is a Duochrome, and Palladium, which is a metallic. And I should mention all of these feel really nice to the touch. Really soft, really almost velvety, I guess I would say. So there are the next four. The last three are Bliss, which is Duochrome, Silk, a metallic, and then we end with Beach, which is another matte. And there are those. Oh, look, I left Drew. I don't know what I did to my elbow. Like, why did I hurt my elbow in some way that I'm not aware of? I don't know. So here's everything. I'm going to try to kind of let some light come across those two because there's some duochromes. So there's all the swatches. And for me, there is not a bad swatch in that entire palette. Everyone is, that is an absolutely consistent formula from the first pan to the last pan. Obviously, I consider that a good thing. Swatches don't always tell the whole tale though, right? You know, so you have to use them on the eyes. And I have done that, I guess since Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And yesterday I put my eyeshadow on at, I don't know, 8 a.m. And then I had it on and took a picture, I think at 5 o'clock in the evening, because I wanted you to see how it wore, because there are a lot of metallics in here, right? A lot of that kind of creamier formula that could crease or whatever. And I wanted to see how it wore in that regard. And I also wanted to see how much kind of glittery transfer I got. So here's the look from yesterday in the morning. And then here it is at, 5 o'clock in the evening. It held up really beautifully. The one thing that I noticed was that I had just a little bit of some of the shimmer or glimmer or whatever transferred from my lid to kind of in the crease. And, I don't know that that's avoidable. I did not use a glitter glue, by the way. I just used my Milani eyeshadow primer like I always do. So that was the only thing I noticed. I didn't have any creasing. It wore beautifully. I wasn't like running a race or anything, but I was outside for part of the day and it was a humid, hot day. So I felt like the shadows held up really, really beautifully. And I also really liked the look yesterday. By the way, yesterday, that look I just showed you was mostly alloy. I'm not gonna be able to find these here. Alloy and silk. And then I had some ridge kind of, in the transition area, that kind of thing. So I really thought, I enjoyed that look all day. It held up beautifully. I really liked it. The day prior, I did this look, which had more of the kind of reddish tones. I used Magma in that look. I used High Degree in that look. I think I used Silk as well. And so I had more of, as you can see, more of a reddish bronze tone to the look. I didn't wear that one as long. I put that on in the afternoon, but I think it's fair to say that these wear really well based on the swatches, based on my experience yesterday, etc. And then today, I wanted to do another different look, and I must say, to my great surprise, this palette inspires me. It's a bronze palette, but is it? Because I spent a lot of time with this yesterday. I swatched it a few times. I compared it to other palettes that I have. I tried to see, do I have any dupes? Do I have any comparisons? And I thought, yeah, this is just a bronze palette. It's really not, because you've got coppers, and you've got more yellow leaning, like I said, mustardy, kind of bronze shades. And then you've got this, like this to me is a total surprise, this rhodium. And then this cream to powder is very deep, and you can use that obviously as the liner. You can use it on your lid any way you choose. And down here, this bliss color. This has pink in it. Like when I really spent time with this and kind of poured over it yesterday, and that's what I do in my spare time, I know, weird. I realized, for me anyway, how truly unique this palette is. And I am the first to say I'm so surprised at how much I like this palette. Really, I am genuinely shocked. So what it was that drew me to it in the picture, I still don't really know. Why I purchased it when I really had kind of, you know, written off Natasha Denona for me, I don't know, but I love this palette. Oh, I was gonna tell you what I have on today. So today, I put rhodium out here. Here, I'll show you the colors. That's probably more helpful, right? So rhodium is on the outer, we'll say the outer half. Then I put Bliss, this pretty kind of pink to green duochrome in here. I used the actual cream to powder to line just slightly on the outer third of the eye. And then in the kind of the transition area, I guess I started everything with Beach. So you can see. And again, I don't know if it's translating, but I really like this look as well. I'm delighted. I am delighted with this palette. Oh, and I wanted to mention this. So then yesterday, I'm loving this palette, right? I'm like, I love this palette. I love this palette. Why do I love this palette so much? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the Love palette and see if now I've changed my mind. So I swatched the Love palette. I swatched all day yesterday. I'm not kidding. And it did not swatch. It swatched. It swatched very inconsistently. It swatched the way I remembered it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not insane. That palette just wasn't for me. And the mini retro, I swatched that as well, and it was fine. That was more of a color thing for me. But this, I love this palette. It has much more versatility than I ever would have imagined. I guarantee you I wouldn't have thought this if I had not used it, seen it in person, and really spent some time with it. So, obviously my conclusion is I love the Natasha Denona Bronze Palette. $65? Always. Every time I talk about this stuff, I'm going to say it depends on your budget. I don't know your budget. This is expensive for me. You know, I like a lot of drugstore. The rest of the stuff on my face basically is drugstore today. This is clearly not. As Natasha Denona goes, for my $65, this was worth it. I'm really pleased with this. I think I'm going to use this a lot. It's a delight. Really, I know, I'm gushing, but you know I mean it. There's the swatches again. I love it. I hope this was helpful. That is always my only purpose here. And as I said, I love that you hang out and talk makeup with me. And thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.